to cooperate to make this better. There was no commissar sending out officers from sending out orders from some central office. It was a magic of the price system, the impersonal operation of prices that brought them together and got them to cooperate to make this pencil so that you could have it for a trifling sum. That is why the operation of the free market is so essential, not only to promote productive efficiency, but even more to foster harmony and peace among the people of the world. This guy. What they're saying now is the phone's ringing off the hook. The White House plans the president says that he's having conversations with Japan and other countries about how to make it. The opposite today. Alexa, temperature.
Right now, it's 0 degrees Celsius. Today, expect a high of 2 degrees. I hope you have a good morning.
Said, I think there's probably truth to that. You just look at how our alliances have shifted over the last couple of months and how close Europe and Canada. Look, I think if you were to tease out what the White House is saying, that the phone is ringing off the hook, why, given what we've seen here, would you have any confidence that this is a White House and a U.S. Trade Representative's office and the Commerce Department that's equipped at this point to work on types of deals in the language that they report? Look at all of these bilateral agreements and to come up with numbers in each of these relationships that would be reciprocal tariffs. Use quotation fingers. They're not. Even going back to Smoot-Hawley in the 1930s, it took a year and a half for Congress to come up with what those levels were going to be. And we're talking about a global trade picture that is dramatically different today. Much smaller, much less. To believe now that 50 plus countries are trying at this moment in time to renegotiate all of these things. It is a mammoth, if not Sisyphean task for these countries to undertake right now.
Here's what's the fact that Elon Musk is spending his days posting videos of Milton Friedman talking about how bad tariffs are. The fact that you have Elon Musk and Peter Navarro sort of sparring in public, and the likes of Bill Ackman, okay, a hedge fund manager who was a huge outspoken supporter of Donald Trump.
Good morning, everybody. How's it going?
He's now lobbying the president via tweet, like, thank you, Mr. President. You know, the whole entire country thinks you're being fantastic and innovative golf, and the tariffs on their face are a good idea. But here's what you need to do. The fact that you're seeing major business people tweet with the president, with Twitter,
Are you mad? 2 singers. No, I'm not mad. Are you mad? Hi, Shoddy. Hi, Shoddy. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the MUSHBAG Live.
What our policies are, then what can you believe in? I guess my question, Rita, is how does it end? Listen, the White House would like us to believe that this is a short-term pain, that we even short-term.
Where's everybody from? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat where you're from, where you're at. Because I made the conscious decision to do so. That's why I am.
With some cockamamie short-term wins for the president to save face so they can be done with these tariffs. So this is what I heard as well. They're looking for
the hostage taker who's taken the global economy hostage to find a different resaver. And that is what
America.
correct.
So the weekend, the president doing just a few months from the Oval Offices, putting that gate down and saying it's not there. So if you look at what the Dow did today, if you look at that kind of green Christmas tree this morning when it did go into the green because of this erroneous tweet, it was that.
Whose erroneous tweet was it?
It was somebody clipped Kevin Hassett, the president's economic advisor, suggesting that maybe the White House would be open to a 9-day pause, the likes of which they're lacking. The White House very quickly in a comment to CNBC shut that down. So that's not the case. But he was able to live and breathe in that moment long enough that investors had this renewed sense of optimism that maybe cooler heads are going to prevail. That exit ramp was going to be open. As I said, once again, the White House had shut that down. And I think that what Wall Street wants here is certainty and clarity on what the path forward is. And more than that, wants to know that maybe there is a way for this to end in somewhat dramatic fashion.
One comparison for you. Compare this to 2008. The weekend leading into Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, what was the government doing? They were huddled up figuring out how we're going to save the United States. And you saw trading desks at every bank rushing to the office on that Sunday night. Last night, that Sunday night, traders were rushing to the office as the futures market was opening, figuring out what they were going to do. What was our government doing this weekend? Donald Trump was golfing in Florida. So while the government was trying to save America in 2008, what we're experiencing right now is the government inducing it, saying, well, it's time to take a medicine, boys and girls.
Well, and this comparison was drawn for me as well. Someone said your old boss was viewed as a partner in, and that George W. Bush had Barack Obama and John McCain and Nancy Pelosi at the White House. One of those two men would be the next president. Nancy Pelosi was the Speaker of the House. And that they were trying to avoid the most cataclysmic economic catastrophe. And the difference here is that they have created a cataclysmic economic catastrophe that rivals that one.
And that's why the market is moving so dramatically, because beneath the tariffs, it's a healthy economy. Okay, in 2008, it wasn't a healthy economy, right? Like beneath the surface was a disaster, and you didn't know how far it was going to spread. Now, you take these tariffs away, and yes, we've got a fiscal cliff issue, we've got a net deficit issue, but we are a million miles away from a financial crisis. You said the jobs number on Friday. It is okay. So the reason the market is hanging on every possible tweet that Kevin Hassett may have said is because once you take tariffs off the table, things are okay.
Just imagine this boiler room as well, if there were to be one. Everyone has a different perspective on what's happening here and what President Trump thinks. And there is a kind of unanimous level of deference to the president. It's up to him if we're going to negotiate. He's going to decide who we negotiate with. You know, you go back, rewind the tape to last weekend, Howard Lutnick saying maybe he's up to open a negotiation, maybe he's not. Same thing with Scott Bessent, same thing with Kevin Hassett. Nobody knows really what the president. There's this remarkable level of self-awareness we didn't have in the first Trump term, I think, which is nobody dares to speak or guess what the president wants to do. There's an awareness that it is up to him. It kind of renders useless the kind of atmosphere that you're talking about, where you could have an economic team in one place with what all of these people wondering sort of, again, where the off-ramp's going to be or how's this going to work out.
Someone made the point that the Jeffrey Goldberg joined group chat about striking the Houthis is the policy analog that smart people should be looking at, that there is no principles process. They didn't go and look at targeted tariffs. He wanted to do a performative press conference that someone made him promise in the same way he greenlit a strike. And JD Vance was the only one on the group chat trying to slow it down or sort of ingest any sort of policy deliberations. How much are business leaders becoming students of the last 10 years of Trump?
It's why they're hanging on to the hope that Scott Bessent might even be in the room. And even though they're not saying Scott Bessent is the great savior, they know that he actually has a deep understanding of markets. Okay? Howard Lutnick is a hugely successful guy, but where he comes from is Cantor Fitzgerald. Cantor Fitzgerald is a broker's broker. As one hedge fund manager described it to me today, I used to sell bonds for a living to hedge funds, and so I would maybe BSing one person on the end of the phone. A broker's broker is lying to both ends of the phone. And so you have a person who's never actually taken principal risk, who doesn't understand this. And it's why you're watching investors now completely